So I started as an officer in this gameplay. It was the one with the lowest level. I think I was on 52 at this point, so I wanted to boost it up a little, get it on par with... I think the specialist was on 53 at this point, so it was just basically to give it a run out. I'm using the S5 pistol because I've been finding the Blurg and the SE44C a bit tricky to get headshots with, so I was aiming for a more accurate gun to fire at this point. So that's the main gist at the start of this map. I put on the recharge command rather than the health or the reload ones. I won't be able to buff my teammates to get their abilities back a little faster. Really, I should have used it at this point when there was about 5 or 6 of them, but I get there when there's about 3. Now, one of my main problems is I tend to rush in a little bit. I managed to get a disruptor shot off there, but I really shouldn't have rushed in. I got a headshot straight away against me, so yeah, it was a funny start. I noticed that there were a lot of officers that had spawned in. I think it was a popular class at this point. I was finding that the side routes were very congested in this opening part of the game. Usually they are anyway, but this one here in particular, I just couldn't find a way through. You've got the opponents down there who were taking pot shots from afar, and then you've got this one clone trooper on the right who was having a right good camping session. He was hiding right up the corner, so I couldn't really get my disruptor off at him, and I'd got my flash grenade which I could use, but even if I could get there, I've still got them down the hallway which are going to take pot shots at me, so it was a waste of time trying to take him out. So I thought, right, let's get back into the main area, just see if I can help out there, which, even though I didn't last long here, it did prove useful. I managed to get a shot off here, get an assist, but really this was just poor play on my part. I didn't look where I was going and ended up getting shot down way too easily there. When I spawned back in, I saw the objective wasn't really being attacked with any consistency, so I wanted to make sure that the area was clear so that one of my teammates could go for it. So I was having a look on the right, I wanted to see if there was any clones there. We were well covered there even though I threw my grenade. The back end is usually where they decide to stay when they realise they aren't getting forward as much. So I did push a little bit there with the grenade, but again, I tried to use a disruptor shot, being clever, and that's where I fail in this game. I try to be clever, do something silly, and as you can see, the end result is usually I get a cheap death. By the time I respawn in, the objective's being worked on, and actually by the time I get anywhere near it, it's already complete. So at this point, you're really just looking at making sure you can get forward as quick as possible to attack the next objective. We had a few stragglers. We got one here, for example, and you've got the heavy here. You just have to clear them out. You know, just it's cheap kills, but also it means you aren't going to get shot in the back like I was there by that assault. Someone else too came out for me, I think. So yeah, you just have to time your runs, make sure you get forward as quick as possible, which I do here. So I carry on pushing forward, and I make a little slight misturn there, which everyone can see. But I also make another one when I'm going up here, in that I do get in a bit of a crowd. I get a nice shot off there, but pushing forward I think, right, can I take anyone out on that bridge? And I'm a little outgunned. If I'm right there, I've got a heavy. Yeah, I've got a heavy with a sentry who's aiming right at me, and I'm a little outmatched. There's also clones coming this way, so I don't really want to get into a firefight. I can't win in that instance, so I actually realise I'm in a bit good cover. So I decide to use that cover from the bridge and take out those on the east landing pad, which does work out well. I managed to get a few good kills here. That guy, he rolls a bit, but he can't escape. And I've got a guy just over on the right, I think. Let's have another look. Oh, no, I see a guy on the left, an officer, but he just hides behind cover. He was quite good there. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, there he is on the right. Easy shot, easy kill. Ultimately, I get 4 kills, but as it tends to be with me, it's making poor choices that ends a kill streak for me. So in this instance, I think, right, I'm just going to try and help out a bit more close. I push forward, I end up getting drawn into a 2-on-1, and it's a choice between the two kills me, so the assault wins out. Advantage of picking the officer is that I can get battle points easily, so I managed to pick Emperor Palpatine. I get him early on despite not having a great start to the map, I will admit that. I have tried using an officer less since I realised how easily it is to pick up points, because you don't get a bad reputation in these sort of games. So anyway, I did pick him, I pushed on, and I wanted to see how he was doing because Palpatine had been really buggy in the last patch, so I wanted to see if his chain lightning was working again. And I'd just gone to level 25, so I wanted to see what my first epic star card with him would be like. Whilst it doesn't affect me that much on this landing pad, it did occur to me already that picking Palpatine or any hero at this point is a bit of a risk, because the gunship up in the air can melt heroes. In a previous game I'd been on this landing pad and I'd picked Bosk, and the gunship just tore me to pieces. I couldn't take cover in the grounded gunships or anything, so you have to be really careful when picking heroes at this point of Kamino. They really could do with making the gunships that are on the ground act as cover or just some form of protection, because for the infantry as well as the heroes, it is a bit unfair that the gunships can take out people way too easily on this part of the map. So I don't know if the developers can come up with something here, but the only place I know for definite that you can take cover is the two main buildings where you spawn, either as a hero or a villain. So it's a bit of a problem when you've got to go that far forward or that far back just to get out of the way of a laser, essentially. So the guy in the gunship spotted me, and he obviously thinks he wants a Palpatine kill to his name, so I retreat. I think to myself, I'm not letting him get me, so I go back into this building eventually, and by the time I get out, my health's restored, so it isn't that big a disaster, but it is a pain when you have to go back and forth like this. But the team I was working with, they did manage to keep the objective from being lost. It wasn't as strong as when I left it, but it was still being contested. And the clone troopers that actually came to try and defend it, they didn't do that great a job. Granted, it's against Palpatine, but you know, they could have actually overwhelmed me because there were a number of them, but I think they actually got a bit frightened and thought, oh wait up, Palpatine's here. You know, if they all used a Vanguard on me, I'd have been stuffed. So I am a little surprised I reclaimed it so easily. But anyway, moving on, I was able to get inside the next spawn spot, which means away from the gunship, which I was pleased about. As I'd said, I was also trying to find out about Palpatine's chain lightning, seeing how it's working now. And I was at fault here because I kept trying to use it at a range, and I'll admit I never used Palpatine that much before the bug, but I wanted to just see how it was, so I didn't really realise the range it had, and a couple of times in these early stages I used it when maybe I could have saved it and tried to use it at a closer range, so it was a learning curve for me, that I'll admit. I think ultimately those little decisions did cost me in the end. But anyway, I push on, I'm going towards the barracks, and a little camper decides to take a few pot shots at me. I managed to get him back, but I don't know, it's one of those where you just have to accept it and shoot, isn't it? But it's annoying when you get shot by someone in the back, but what can you do? When I've been playing it myself, or even if I'm just watching videos on YouTube, the one thing that seems to be in common with this area on Kamino, you need to have numbers in the area. So it is unfair in the sense that there are two objectives and you should try to defend them both. But you do need numbers in this one. I mean, Palpatine's very good here because he can cover the entrances and exits very well. The one for the opponent's team who I always look out for is Yoda, because if he can get in here with a group of infantry, he can really cause trouble, because you've got to keep an eye out for him obviously on his own, but then you've also got to keep an eye out for his teammates. At this point I'm happy though, I'm doing alright, I'm covering the entrances and exits as I say, and I'm on a 13 kill streak, which for myself as a hero or a villain, it isn't bad. But I ended up getting blindsided here. Someone throws a shot grenade or something at me, it might have been Lando with a disabler, and I ended up taking a few clones out, but it wasn't the greatest moment of my gameplay, I'll admit. So I take a few stragglers out here, and it makes me feel better because I'm still feeling comfortable with my health. I would prefer it a bit higher, but I'm feeling comfortable. What I'd really like is a bit more support. As you can see, there's only a handful around me. Luckily a group spawn in as well, but these two choke points are terrible, especially for Palpatine, because he's not like a Jedi or a Sith player who can deflect blaster bolts, you've really got to stick your neck out there to push forward. And I go down the left one because for some reason I always tend to find that one's the least defended. So I push forward and I managed to get a bit of lightning at Lando, which I think in the end does kill him. I use chain lightning, I think that has an impact as well on him. So I'm feeling comfortable still at this point. It's the only way to describe it. It's really here that I end up taking a lot of damage. I push when I shouldn't, and it's really hard to not justify pushing because you have got to go forward as a hero. You can't just sit back. But I took that much damage that I couldn't really recover from it. I tried going down this way in the hope that maybe there's less opponents down this route, but my health hasn't really restored at this point. I'm taking cover just in the hope of restoring some health, but I haven't even got my chain lightning activated yet, so it wasn't a surprise that Han took me down, to be honest. By the time I respawn, I've noticed I've got a 19 kill streak as Palpatine, which I'm okay at. I know you can do more, but I'm thinking to myself, alright, just go for the objective, just try and chip in for the final push. And I've got to say, this is the quickest I've ever seen Kamino taken. I'm looking at the tickets and we've got 84 going in, and the objective's already being run at, so I don't know if we were up against a poor team or if I was on a really good team, but this was an incredible attack. I've never seen the fusion core taken this fast. So by the time I got there, I actually felt a little bit redundant. I tried taking a few shots at Yoda, but he was already dealt with by, I think it was Kylo or Vader. And after that, you just try and get on the spawn spot to make sure that the opponents can't break in and stop the objective from being taken. But even then, I didn't feel like there was much more I could do because it was already won, really, as you can see. So from here, all I can say is, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this gameplay. I release videos Monday to Saturday, sometimes on a Sunday if I'm feeling a bit generous or I've got something I'm really excited to show people. All I can ask is that you subscribe to my channel if you like this video, and I hope to see you again sometime soon. Thank you, this is Josh, bye for now.